Você está assistindo a Umas Palavras, que hoje entrevista o escritor norueguês Jostein Gaarder. You formed with your wife the Sophie Foundation, and there's an award called the Sophie Prize. And if we read your books, you're always worried about our planet, our world. We don't take care properly. So I think this foundation you formed has everything to do with that. So if you can explain a little.
First of all, I have always been very close to nature. A lot of my identity is the identity of being part of this living planet, always. So then, when all of a sudden, I got a lot of money from Sophie's World and the other books, especially Sophie's World, we just had to ask, what shall we do with all this money? So we decided to make a foundation. And now this foundation is a big organization with 14 members of the jury, and every year, as you say, we give an environmental award. It comes with some money. It's $100,000 American every year, so it's pretty much.
Very good price.
Yeah. So I am so devoted to nature. I think that when I write my books, I'm out. I walk in the mountains, in the woods, and so on. But the practical aspect of that is that we have to take care of nature.
Because it is interesting in your books. There is always someone that comes from abroad, from you see the planet Earth, blue, and it's such a joy to live in a place like this. What are you doing to take care? And you have to be glad to be here. So I think
maybe this planet, maybe it is the only planet in the entire universe where you have this universal consciousness you have and I have. It is maybe the only place where there are beings who can say stars, galaxies, who has a concept of the whole entire universe. Then it's not only a global responsibility to take care of the conditions for life on this earth, it's a cosmic responsibility. And in general, I would say that in the 20th century, we have focused so much on human rights. That's important. But we have come pretty far. Here in South America, for instance, it has been a lot of achievements for human rights, during the 20th century.
Yeah.
Now, in the 21st century, we cannot just go on talking about human rights and rights. We must also talk about obligations or responsibilities. Maybe, like we had in 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we need a Universal Declaration of Human Obligations to save the planet, to save the conditions for our grandchildren. Of course, I know it's not easy to just say, keep the Amazon rainforest, and it's not very as simple as that. I do think it's not only a Brazilian responsibility, because we do have this greatest rainforest on Earth today remaining. We do see some reminiscence of rainforest in Africa, West Africa, and we see in Asia, Guinea and so on. So I think the whole population of the world should go together to see how we can save the variety.
Help these countries to help their forests. Yeah.
Like I can take another example. Norway, my country, we are so rich because we found a lot of oil. Like Venezuela has oil and Norway has oil. I don't think that all this money belongs to Norwegians only. Well, my government thinks so. I mean, the Norwegian politicians believe so. But I think that we could take resources from different places to make great fundraising. We do this now to fight poverty in Africa, for instance. Very good. Winston Churchill said when the German army was approaching England, I have nothing to offer but blood, sweat, toil and tears. Some politicians should say something like this today also. We do now like this for poverty a little bit. We should do it also for the rainforest, because the rainforest will never come back.
If we have to choose something to teach the young generation, we have to choose one thing more than philosophy, it would be ecology.
Yeah, And then also, I completely agree, it would be also not only philosophy and literature, but also science, natural science, biology, and even astronomy. I mean, because going back to what we've kind of started with, girls and boys, I say that sometimes girls are wiser when they are 12 years old. But the boys, they are very interested in dinosaurs. That is important. That is important. Because if you are interested in life on Earth 65 million years ago, where the dinosaurs died, you know, then you are on the track of being interested in the whole planet and life on Earth today.
What we have in your books, what you put in your books about your Norwegian origin?
I think maybe it is, as a Norwegian, I'm very fond of outdoor life, you know, like walking in the mountains and in the woods. And
3 months a year, more or less, or 4, because I think the rest of the time it must be so cold.
Yes, but then we go skiing.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, really, I've been asked so many times, you know, what are the most important values in life? I say, of course, to wake up in the morning and have a healthy body. That it's important. Then, of course, I think for very many people, friendship is very important. To have a good friend or some good friends is important. There are many lonely people. They suffer. Then third, I think mostly for people, it's important to have what I would call an erotic friendship. I mean a love relationship. Like I have been married for 32 years, you know. So that is rather impressive in my country nowadays, you know, to keep together so long. But people say everywhere, yes, see, you know, in Japan, hi, you know. So they all agree. But then I say, and then a fourth thing, and that is wilderness, unspoiled nature. And then people say, oh really? Is that important? Yes, it is for me. But then maybe I talk like a Norwegian. So that feeling of being close to nature may be a Norwegian thing. Our nature is not so. It's not so like impressive as you can find places here. We have summer only 3 or 4 months per year, you know.
We do have the fjords.
We do, yes. So it's very nice in that sense, yes. And we are very few people, you know, very scattered population. So we are only 4.5 million people. So we don't see each other so much. We sometimes only see trees and mountains. So I think that people...
And it helps to meditate and to think and so. To reflect.
You know, I construct my stories while walking. I cannot move my thoughts without at the same time moving my body.
You construct in your mind and then you write them down.
I never think really in front of a computer. So I move my thoughts as I'm moving my body. That is my rhythm of... I'm a very stupid person when I'm sitting in front of a computer. But I think I'm not that stupid when I'm walking in the mountains.
And when you finish a book, you started another one. It's similar because you have been writing more or less an average of one book every 2 years, more or less, like this.
So yes, very often, you know, when you write, I think this is very typical for many people. When we work intensively, we get also other ideas. So very often when I write a book, I start to have some thoughts about another story. So very often like that. I think actually that the more we concentrate, it's like sports, you know. You use your body and you get stronger. And I would say the same. We are born with muscles, you know, but we have to use them
so the imagination is the same.
Yes, we are born with the faculty of fantasy, but we have to use it. You know, you may say that the more ideas you spend, the more ideas you get. It's not like money. The more money you spend, the less you have.
You get poor, you get richer in a way, the more you spend. Does Brazilian culture and literature reach Norway, and how?
You know, you know, as now I'm more than 50 years old, and I've been reading stories all my life. So I actually must confess that I think that I cannot recall very many titles or Brazilian authors, but I am convinced I have read more Brazilian literature than I can recall. I mean,
I
Jorge
see.
Amado is
Jorge Amado, yes.
is I
He's a
read
very
something
good
by him.
author, yeah, from Bahia.
He's from Bahia, exactly.
He's dead now, but he has.
But
He was a wonderful
I
writer.
haven't really followed modern Brazilian literature, so I know too little about it, which is very sad. But you know,
But you follow the contemporary literature
a
generally.
little bit, but not very much, because as I said, I used to read more literature before. Now I read more science. I read chemistry. I read astrophysics. I read astronomy. So I don't read so much anymore. But you know, there are a lot of other aspects of Brazilian culture that is having a more strong influence on my country. Of course, football, but also the samba, of course, and
Our music.
music in
goes-
general.
yeah.
Not only samba. It's really, really. I mean, it's really much played. Television and radio, very. When we listen to Brazilian music, you know, all people will say it's Brazilian. So that is. I'm an author myself, so I'm a little sad to say that I hope we had more ears also for Brazilian literature. We know too little about it, because after all, I know that it's a rich literary tradition here, and I know also that there are 200 million people almost, and 50% of South America is Brazil.
Yes.
So I think I have some homework to do when I come home to read. But besides, also I say I read more and more science, and I'm very, very, very fond of music.
Well, Jostein, I want to thank you for this interview. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.